Hey guys, so today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question was, Frederick, how can a person not working at Google be as good as a programmer working at Google? Something like that. Anywho, let's get into it. So, this I will have to tip my hat to the good people at the employer brander department for Google. It's gone because this question kind of entails something, and that is that somehow the smartest people in the world all work at Google, and anybody who isn't working at Google is not as smart as or at least in the technical department, they're not as smart as the people are working at Google. Guys, I hate to break it to you, I'm very happy to be able to say that there are plenty of people who are a lot smarter than plenty of people at Google that work somewhere else. Google have their own technical recruiters. Do you think that just because you started working at Google, all of a sudden you're one of the smartest people in the world? Of course not. Such a massive company. I mean, there's a range of people in a large organization such as Google as wherever you go. Do you think that every single person working at Google is smarter than every single person working at Facebook, Mozilla? It doesn't even have to be a a large company like that. Guys, they reach out to people all the time. Heck, I've been contacted by Google's recruiters. Does that mean that I'm smarter than everybody else who hasn't been contacted? I've never worked for Google, but I'm just saying, just think about that statement for a little bit. Why would all the people working at Google be smarter than all the people working anywhere else? It doesn't make any sense. Now, the reason, I'll give you a bit of a take on this, the main reason why Google has this prestigious kind of ivory position within IT is because of the success of the company. And you have to think about that a little bit. That success leads to them being able to be extremely picky about the people that they hire. But I mean, they hire juniors right out of college. I can tell you right now that a junior hired directly out of college, I don't care if you have a PhD, you will not be able to produce anything valuable in comparison to a seasoned veteran programmer. I don't care how smart you are. I know for a fact that you can't. I've worked with tons of juniors who have a lot fancier degrees than I and my other co-workers ever have, and they can't. I mean, without us, they're basically just fumbling in the dark. They can't produce anything. Does that mean that they're smarter? Maybe it does, but at the very least, we can clearly see that they can't produce the results required. With training, they will be able to do that, and maybe they will surpass, some of them do, maybe they will surpass all of their peers and become truly one of the great programmers. But Linus Torvalds doesn't work for Google, arguably one of the best programmers ever, and there's tons of the other examples of programmers who doesn't work at Google. So this idea that Google has only the best programmers in the world is a bit false. They have a very, very tough recruitment process because of, this is just my take on it, of course, but if you look at it from this perspective, I think that this will make more sense. So when you are a super well-branded IT company where everybody wants to work, there is going to be a little bit of a red thread for you, and that is that you're going to have a massive amount of people wanting to get in on the action. There's tons of developers who apply to Google because they want to work there. That means that you can be very picky with the people that you select. Makes sense, right? It's actually funny because smaller companies sometimes in my world, I make the mistake of thinking that they can have the same rigorous super process and be super picky about their candidates, and that is a very, very dumb idea if you don't have the sort of popularity in the marketplace as Google has. But remember, Google invests tons and tons and tons of money to make themselves the most bleeding edge, or one of the most bleeding edge companies in IT. And that has certain perks with it. It's not for free. I mean, they train people and they hire people and they brand like their offices and all that stuff. There's tons of money going into having that luxury employer brand. And that is very valuable, because that means that they will have statistically more people coming through the door trying to get a job than anybody else, which means that they can create a interviewing process for the people applying that is basically going to only produce the people that are top-notch. So just think about it. All those people who didn't make the cut, does that necessarily mean that they wouldn't have made the cut on another day? Who knows? But at the very least, the way that the IT works is that just because you have the just because you are the biggest IT company doesn't necessarily mean that the best people in the best people in the industry are going to go there. People go into programming for their own reasons. So I mean, think about it yourself. If you worked for Google and you stopped working for Google, then you work for some other company, does that mean that all of a sudden you're not as good as you were when you were working at Google? And I will tell you a small little secret from someone who has worked for one of these companies who put a lot of time and effort into branding themselves. Guys, it's never ever as perfect and awesome as they let on in the tech talks. Never. I can promise you that not every single company, single department within such a large organization such as Google is working absolutely flawless. Just the other day they announced to me that they're going to shut down Google+. That's a big, massive failure for the company. So not every single thing that Google does is perfect. They have a lot of awesome stuff and a lot of amazing products, and I think it's one of my personal favorite companies in IT, but they're not perfect. Nobody is. So it's a little bit of a warning sign if you've been brainwashed into believing that unless you work for Google, you're not as good as somebody working at Google. There's tons of very, very bright people out there in the world, and trust me, there are tons of these people saying no to Google. Google reach out to them and they don't want to work for them. So just keep that with you. You don't have to work at Google to be as smart as somebody who works at Google. Have a great day.